Hi, my name's Heidi, and I'm doing my presentation on violence against Indigenous women and children. So imagine your mother went missing, then all the women in your life too. No one's being held responsible, and the law won't help you either. This isn't just a scenario, but the ongoing history of Indigenous women and children around the world. For decades, Indigenous communities have been left to deal with devastating effects of colonization, discrimination, and neglect. Among these issues, I'll be highlighting violence against Indigenous women and children, which is a deeply rooted issue that has been and still is constantly ignored by the government and justice system. I'll be sharing with you how systemic neglect, environmental, and legal factors are feeding into the violence, like wood to a fire, and how Indigenous women's activism and leadership are creating pathways towards justice and change. The first, systemic neglect. This violence is rooted in historical neglect. A report by Josh Nicholas, a journalist for The Guardian, a major news outlet known for its investigative reports, had received data on First Nation women in Australia who had been murdered or declared missing at shocking rates. But due to lack of data and incomplete data and record keeping, many of the investigations and cases get dropped or remain unsolved or undocumented, revealing a pattern of systemic neglect. In the United States, the first Native American chair in the House of Appropriations Committee, Congressman Tom Cole, had stated in November 2024 that Indigenous women and girls experience violence at rates much higher than our national averages. Then a United Nations report also highlighted this and expressed that Indigenous women are at a crisis point and it's a global issue in June 2022. Next is legal environmental issues. They further put Indigenous women and youth at risk. According to a March 2022 report from the Asia's Indigenous Peoples Pact, a regional network that defends Indigenous rights, which revealed that the destruction and displacement caused by climate change increased the risk of violence and exploitation of Indigenous women in Asia. And then here in the US, an NBC News report had reported that the ongoing loophole has prevented the prosecution of many crimes on tribal lands, leaving many cases unsolved as well. For our solutions to many of the problems that Indigenous women and children face would be to close these jurisdictional loopholes, to increase funding for Indigenous law enforcement and justice programs, proper training of the legal system and police on handling cases, volunteering, funding, donating to shelters, centers, programs that teach and bring awareness to the community, and requiring fully transparent data. We've already seen some of this taking place within Indigenous communities. For example, in Brazil, a report from The Guardian in September 2021 by Flavia Mahorn to Tom Phillips, they wrote about the warrior women in Brazil who organized peaceful protests to protect their lands and communities. So, violence against Indigenous women and children is influenced by several factors, but you can be one of the main factors to stop and be a change for this cause. You can become the media. You can donate what you can if you have it. And if you can't, you can volunteer and educate yourself and others by learning about these organizations. I'll be providing a link tree at the end here with several Instagrams, petitions, and websites that you can use to keep track of missing Indigenous people, to educate yourself, to educate others, and attend protests when they happen. So you can be a part of the change too. Thank you.